Hey first grade families, it's Mrs. O'Hare again, and I'm here to read to you the next chapter of Dump the Chump. This chapter is chapter 4, but it's called Step 3. The next day was Sunday. As everyone knows, Sunday is the most boring day of the week. I don't know what makes it so different from Saturday, but somehow it never turns out to be as much fun. My mother always fixes a special big breakfast on Sunday morning. I'm not really sure why she does this, but it seems to make her happy, so I always eat whether I'm hungry or not. A lot of people I know get all dressed up and go to church on Sunday. We tried that for a while, but it didn't work out for our family. My mother had signed us up for Sunday school at the church down the street. She told us we would have lots of fun and learn about the Bible. She was wrong. All I ever really learned about was that I stink at art. Every week in Sunday school, we did the same thing. First, our teacher would pass out a Bible picture for us to color. Then she would put a box of old broken crayons on the table and tell us to get busy. Most of the crayons were so little, you couldn't even get a good grip on them, and your picture ended up looking like Scribble Scrabble. When you were finished coloring, the teacher always had an art project for you to work on. The first week, we had to make a little church out of a small milk carton. Mine didn't turn out very well. My little church ended up looking like a little barn. When the teacher saw it, she got this really disgusted look on her face, and she asked me if I was trying to be funny. She said I shouldn't be making a joke of God's house. I didn't say anything because I decided I would rather have her think I was a smart aleck than to admit that that was the best I could do. After that, I wasn't too excited about going back to Sunday school. Robert didn't seem to like it any better than I did. It's probably the only thing we've ever agreed on in our whole lives. He's the one who got us kicked out. One Sunday, we were supposed to color a picture of baby Jesus with a halo around his head. The class had just started working on it when all of a sudden I saw the teacher grab Robert's picture away from him and put it in the trash. And then she took away his crayons and made him sit at the table all by himself. When the teacher wasn't looking, I went over and got Robert's crumpled picture out of the trash can to see what he had done. Robert had drawn a big black mustache on the baby's face. I have to admit, it really did look pretty funny. I wonder if God has a sense of humor. I figure he probably does, because sometimes I think he made Robert as a joke. Anyway, our teacher didn't let Robert work on the project that week. We were making halos, and I guess she figured Robert didn't deserve one. When my mom came to pick us up that morning, I heard the teacher tell her that she didn't think Robert could come back until he could behave better. My mom must have been really embarrassed. She yelled at Robert for a very long time and then told us we would not be going back to Sunday school until we got a little bit older. I think my mom thought that she was punishing us, and what she doesn't know won't hurt her. On Sunday, Robert seemed to get on my nerves On Sunday, Robert seemed to get on my nerves more than any other day of the week. He does it on purpose. He usually starts right after breakfast. As soon as I get up from the breakfast table, I go to my room and get dressed. Robert sits outside my door and pretends he can see me undressing through the keyhole. I know he can't, but just to be sure, I always tape a piece of paper over that keyhole. Just to show what a jerk Robert is, every week he still sits out there and pretends he can see me changing clothes. He whistles and everything. What an idiot. After I'm dressed, I usually hang around the house for a while telling my mother that there's nothing to do. Finally, she gets mad and makes me go outside. As soon as I'm outside, Robert does the same dumb thing. Every Sunday, he spies on me. Stupid, right? Well, that's Robert for you, just plain stupid. Robert has got to be the worst spy in the whole world. He tries to hide behind these really skinny little trees. You can see him perfectly. Finally, I decided I couldn't stand it anymore, so I decided that I was going to teach him a lesson. After breakfast, I went outside as usual and sat down on the porch steps. Pretty soon, I heard Robert crawling around through the bushes on the side of the house. He was almost as quiet as a bulldozer, some spy. Anyway, I just sat there on the step for a while, pretending that I didn't know he was in the bushes spying on me. And then after a few more minutes, I got up, started walking around the yard. I acted like I was looking for something. I looked all around my mother's flower beds and then around some of the trees. Then I walked over to the bushes where Robert was hiding. Boy, was he ever quiet. I said, still pretending I had lost something. I wonder where that darn thing went. Robert wasn't moving a muscle. He was as quiet as a mouse. That's when I started spitting. I just stood right there in front of the bushes and spit like I had never spit before. Robert came flying out. "You dummy," he shouted. "I'm telling Mom," and he rushed into the house. Pretty soon my mother came out. Robert was right behind her. "Oscar, what is this that I hear about you spitting at your brother? That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard," she said. I have never seen her so mad. "I didn't spit on him," I said. That's when Robert came over to me and showed me his shirt. There were 2 little blobs of spit on his shoulder. "What do you call that then?" he asked. He was really burned up. "You shouldn't drool on yourself like that, Robert," I said. I thought it was a pretty funny thing to say. Unfortunately, my mother didn't. "I didn't mean to spit on him," I insisted. "I was just watering the bushes. How am I supposed to know he was in there spying on me? If you want to yell at someone, yell at him for spying. If he wasn't hiding in those bushes, he would have never been spit on." I guess my mom wasn't in the mood to decide who was right or wrong because we both got sent to our rooms. But I've got to admit it, seeing Robert's shirt with those 2 little blobs of spit on it was worth being punished. Besides, being in my room gave me a lot of time to work on the 3rd step of Operation Dump the Chump. I took out my secret notebook and checked it carefully. It said, step number 3, put fake advertisement in paper from Henson's. I knew this wasn't going to be easy. I had never written an advertisement before. I definitely needed help. I went downstairs and asked my mom if I could please read the Sunday paper while I was in my room being punished. I'm sure she wondered why I wanted it. I had never read the paper before, not in my entire life, but she let me have it without a lot of questions. The first thing I did was open it up to the classified ads. Classified ads are ads where people write when they want or need something special. For instance, if you want to hire someone for a special job, or if you want to sell something you don't want anymore. As I studied the ads, I noticed that most of them were only a couple lines long. I thought, maybe this isn't going to be that difficult after all. Then, at the bottom of the page, I found the telephone number to call if you wanted to put an ad in the paper. All you had to do was pick up the phone. I was really getting excited. I went over to my desk and began to write a few sample lines for the ad. I worked on it for quite some time, but finally I had it. It went like this. Wanted. Nice young boy to live with old couple. Call 555-3447. I read it over again and again. I had to admit it sounded awfully good. As a matter of fact, it sounded as if the Hensons had actually written it themselves. The very next morning, I called the paper. I told the lady on the phone what I wanted and that I needed to place an ad in Sunday's paper. It was so simple I could hardly believe it. All I had to do was read her my ad. She told me my ad would probably go in the personal section of the ads. I told her she could put it wherever she wanted, just as long as it was in next Sunday's paper. Before she hung up, the newspaper lady asked me how I wanted to pay for it. "Well, how much is it?" I asked. "It's $3, she answered. "If you'd like, you can come to our business office and pay for it, or if you prefer, I can send you a bill." "A bill?" I gasped. "Oh no, don't send me a bill. I'm too young for bills. If my mom ever saw a newspaper bill addressed to me, my whole plan would be ruined. I'll just ride my bike to your office after school," I said. The lady laughed, and then she told me where the office was located. It was right across the street from the post office. I knew I'd have no trouble finding it. After I hung up, I went to my bank and stuffed $3 into my jeans. I told my mother that I would be late getting home from school, and that I was working on a big project. And that wasn't a lie either. Operation Dump the Chump was the biggest project of my life. That's the end of that chapter. We'll have more on Monday. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Relax and enjoy the time together.